Okay. Shall we continue now? Mustafa?
Yes, sir, sure.
Okay. Okay. Can you all see the newspaper on your screen? Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's start with the today's newspaper analysis. Factory output is uptick by 4.2% in April. Inflation cools down to 4.25% till May. So जो factory output है ये बढ़ गया है by 4.2%, and of course as the output increases, as the supply increases, the inflation is also under control. That's what we can see. So this is the control of the inflation, like supply side inflation जो है वो यहाँ पर control हो रहा है. Is it clear? So the inflation in India is around 4.25%, which we know that which is within the tolerable limit of the Indian economy. That's what you can see. Low base, pickup in manufacturing help in IIP. Inflation at 24 for 25 months लो तो पिछले 25 months में सबसे कम inflation अब इंडिया में पाया गया, right? So we have already discussed about it in basics of inflation class, that the inflation rate around 4% is good for the Indian economy. So that's what you can see, because of the factory output increased, because the supply increased, and that is why the inflation is at the top. But there is one more problem, there is one more uncertainty about the monsoon, because as we all know, there is almost 13th of June now. The monsoon has still not, reached in India. It has still not started in India. Normally, the monsoon starts in the month in 1st of June, but वो अभी इंडिया में पूरी तरीके से अब तक शुरू नहीं हुआ है. What is the reason why there is a delay in monsoon in India this year than the normal year? मतलब normal year में जब इंडिया में मानसून होता है, that arrives normally around 1st of June to the south of India. But why this year the monsoon has delayed? Sahil?
Because of El Nino.
Yes. So because of that uncertainty over monsoon, inflation might again rise again. मतलब inflation और वापस से बढ़ सकता है. Especially the food crop inflation could be increased because of the low monsoon in India or the delayed monsoon in India. That's what you can see, that in a sign of nervousness about the progress of the monsoon ahead of assembly polls in key states, the government has imposed stocking limits on wheat. It comes despite the Union Agriculture Ministry estimating a record production of the cereal grain this year. Earlier this month, the ministry had clamped down stock limits and arhar and tur. मतलब pigeon पे और उड़द पे क्या किया गया है? Stock की limit बढ़ा दी गई है because of this monsoon uncertainty. So GS paper 3 topic issues related to buffer stock. The government always try to keep some or other amount of buffer stock. So that's what you can check it out here. Is it clear? So please read this whole article to understand what is the current situation of the inflation in India. Right? Now let's left hand side, there is one more news that is called cyclone. I have already discussed about it in yesterday's class that various cyclones are developed in Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal every year. So cyclone is approaching. Gujarat evacuates thousands, shuts sports, and Prime Minister holds the meeting. So disaster and disaster management. So GS paper 1 में cyclone है. There is one topic in GS paper 1 that various geophysical phenomena like cyclone, earthquakes, volcanism, etc., and its impact on flora and fauna. This topic is there in GS paper 1, and in GS paper 2 there is topic called disaster and disaster management, right? So once the cyclone is arrived, there will be a disaster. So disaster के लिए हम क्या करते हैं? What is the disaster management? What are the 3 steps of disaster management which I have already discussed with you? Disaster management के 3 stages कौन से होते हैं?
Pre-disaster, during disaster, and post-disaster.
Right. So now the government is trying to evacuate the people as a part of pre-disaster management. Like before that cyclone reaches on the coast, before that cyclone reaches on the land, the people who are living in coastal areas, the people who are living in these, in these areas, they are being evacuated, उन्हें safe जगह पर पहुंचाया जा रहा है. So that's what you can see, that people being evacuated from Kutch. Was there any question on Kutch in this year's prelims exam?
Yes, sir.
What was that question? Sahil, do you remember the question which is there in this year's prelims exam?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Kutch is a district in Gujarat, and what was the question which has been asked in this year's prelims exam on Kutch? Mustafa, Sagar. Okay, the question was, they have given a description about area and have asked which is among the following areas. से पूछा था, उन्होंने बताया था कि this area is continuously in the ocean, and there is ocean waterfall हो गया है, और उसकी वजह से a large area has been converted into a marshy land, ऐसे description दिया था, और वो क्या है ये पूछा था, right, Mustafa? So that's what you can see,
Yes,
that
sir.
people are being evacuated from Kutch district, Jhakau village on Monday ahead of cyclone Biparjoy's landfall. So yesterday I have asked you to go and check it out, how the cyclones are developed, how the cyclones are named. तो ये जो नाम है Biparjoy, साइक्लोन को जो नाम दिया गया है, ये कौन दिया है, कैसे दिया जाता है, वो आपको देखना है, ठीक है. So cyclones approaches गुजरात, जितने भी सारे शर्ट है वेस्टर्न कोस्ट पे, उनको पूरे सारे पोर्ट को शट किया गया, and Prime Minister has held a meeting with respect to this cyclone. So just please read this whole article to understand that what are steps taken during such type of disaster and during such type of cyclonic condition. GS पेपर 3 में आपके लिए ये यूजफुल होगा for the topic disaster and disaster management. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Government denies the reports of COVID breach, cites data stolen in past. So कुछ जो data था COVID क्या है? Is there any questions related to COVID in 2022 prelims exam?
Yes, sir.
There was one question in 2022 prelims exam that he open to all websites, या open to all app, right? वो COVID was one such, and government has denied that कि जो COVID में जो data लिया गया था, मतलब COVID में everybody has filled some information, right? So उसका जो data है वो breach हो गया, ऐसे कुछ criticisms थे, but they say that there is no any such the breach, and cites the data stolen in the past. That's what you can see there. Government's clarification does not address the question of how the Telegram bot was able to throw up an individual's data linked to a phone number. While it cited previously stolen data, the government has never been publicly acknowledged any data breach related to Aadhaar in the past. So data, many a times Aadhaar या कोविन जैसे जो गवर्नमेंट के जो प्लेटफॉर्म्स होते हैं, इसमें डेटा प्राइवेसी, जो भी डेटा हम देते हैं to the government on this website या on this such type of on the platforms, so there is always concern about the protection of such data, right? So that's what you can check it out here. So after hours reports that COVID data had been accessed by a Telegram bot, the government said on Monday that all such reports are without any basis and mischievous in nature. So government is denying that there is no any such type of leak in data. Ministry of State for Electronics and IT, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, said the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, that is CERT-IN. All of you remember, इससे पहले भी मैंने इसके बारे में बताया था. CERT-IN क्या है? CERT-IN is the agency which comes in action whenever there is any such type of cyber attack. GS paper 3 topic, basics of cyber security में हमने ये डिस्कस किया था about the CERT-IN. Do you remember that, Sahil? What is CERT-IN?
Yes, sir.
Right? तो वही लिखा है कि CERT-IN, which is a nodal cyber security agency, had reviewed the alleged breach, and it does not appear that the CoWIN app or the database has been directly breached. So as per CERT-IN, इस तरीके का कोई data breach नहीं हुआ है. So GS paper 3 topic basics of cyber security में ये इम्पोर्टेंट, ये जो न्यूज है ये आपके लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है, ठीक है। Now let's move to the next page. Manipur is still burning. That's what you can say. That one more person has been killed. Both Meitei and Kuki groups, these are the two tribal groups in Manipur, say they will stay away from the peace panel. तो जो peace panel है उससे वो दूर रहेंगे, and they, so there are continuous, the disturbances are happening in Manipur. So GS paper 3 topic again, that is internal security challenges, especially in northeastern state. Is it clear? Now let's move on to the next page. So please read the news related to all these articles which I have read now. At G20 event, Prime Minister says development is a core issue for the global south. So as per Prime Minister, development is a core issue for the global south. Global south means the developing and underdeveloped countries. So उनके लिए development core पर है. That's what India's Prime Minister say in a G20 meeting. So the focus of ministers meet on sustainable development. That's what India's External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar has said. So please read this whole article to check it out that what is happening in G20 meeting.
सर ये कौन सा पेपर में आएगा फॉर G20 का पेपर 2 ना इंटरनेशनल मीटिंग
International forums. At various international forums and India's interest number topic in GS paper. G20 is one such forum. What is Mustafa? Here there is one more in detail news about the COVID data breach. That opposition demands investigation in the data breach of COVID. Questions minister on previous breach. So previous breach से related भी question पूछे गए. So all of you please read this whole article and put it into GS paper 3 topic, basics of cyber security. Minister said that government is to going to consult stakeholders on sedition after the law panel not law. So हमने देखा था few days back that the Law Commission of India has recommended for continuation of the sedition law, and as well as it has also recommended for harsher punishment for sedition. So India's Minister Arjun Meghawat, who is the law minister, he said that government will consult to the stakeholders on sedition after the law panel has not to the new law. So we have already discussed about it. Section 124A क्या है? What are the issues associated with the section 124? That's what we have already discussed. Shah has met to the officers and calls for team dedicated to drone technology. Drone technology के डेवलपमेंट के लिए डेडिकेटेड टीम बनाने के लिए कहा है हमारी यूनियन होम मिनिस्टर ने. So just read this whole article that what why the drone technology is being focused now. So that's what you can just check it out. How the drone technology can be used in internal security challenges. Youth empowerment has opened the doors to countless opportunities. That's what the Prime Minister says. One more Rozgar Mela where 10 lakh youth will be given the appointment letters. Today's editorial is related to the on the upswing related to the inflation. We have seen inflation and industrial production data points towards improving condition. So धीरे धीरे इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन बढ़ते जा रही है, इन्फ्लेशन कम होता जा रहा है, इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोडक्शन बढ़ता जा रहा है. So this is pointing towards the improving condition, but RBI is likely to maintain the status quo. तो मुझे बताइए कि जब प्रोडक्शन बढ़ता है, इन्फ्लेशन जब कम होता है, तो आरबीआई इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ाता है या इंटरेस्ट रेट घटाता है? What normally RBI does when inflation reduces and the production increases, मतलब सप्लाई साइड जब बढ़ जाता है, सप्लाई जब बढ़ जाता है तो इकोनॉमी में किसकी जरूरत होती है? ज्यादा मनी सप्लाई की जरूरत होती है या मनी सप्लाई कम करना पड़ेगा जब सप्लाई बढ़ता है?
सर मनी सप्लाई ज्यादा करना पड़ेगा, इंटरेस्ट रेट कम करता
है तो आरबीआई को बढ़ाना पड़ेगा या इंटरेस्ट रेट
कम करना पड़ेगा?
राइट. तो हम देखने की अभी डेटा जो ये बता रहा है कि conditions are improving, production is increasing, inflation is also under control. So RBI को interest rate या repo rate जो होता है वो कम करना चाहिए, but RBI is likely to maintain the status quo. That's what editor feels. But as per editor, the RBI will not make any changes. It will keep the status quo. Reason भी बताया गया था कि क्यों, why RBI is still not very mentally ready to reduce the interest rate. क्या रीजन है उसका? यस साहिल, कल के न्यूज़पेपर में हमने पढ़ा था, कल और परसों के न्यूज़पेपर में, कि why RBI still keeping watch, why it is not reducing the interest rate. The reason is that कि मानसून अनसर्टेनिटी, राइट? मानसून अभी अनसर्टेन है, मानसून का प्रोडक्शन कितना होगा, क्या होगा पता नहीं है, उसके बाद फिर इंटरेस्ट रेट के बारे में डिसीजन लिया जाए. इज इट क्लियर? Saad, Omkar, Mustafa, that why RBI is likely to maintain the status quo?
Yes, sir.
Check it. Now let's move to the next page. So maiden battle cry. Arvind Kejriwal attempts to connect dots between government's goals and opposition concerns. It's a tall order. The government, like we have seen yesterday, Arvind Kejriwal has tried to bring all opposition parties against the ordinance issued by the union government. कल हमने डिस्कस किया था कि यूनियन गवर्नमेंट ने एक ऑर्डिनेंस इशू किया है जिसमें द ट्रांसफर पावर ऑफ द दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट इज बीन गिवन टू द यूनियन गवर्नमेंट रादर देन गिविंग इट टू द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. तो उसको लेकर ये आर्टिकल लिखा हुआ है. प्लीज रीड दिस आर्टिकल दैट व्हाट अरविंद केजरीवाल इज ट्राइंग टू डू. And Atmanirbhar move, Mansukh Mandavia, with the Union Minister for Health and Family. He has done an article on focus on self-reliance in fertilizers has helped to tide over a difficult period. So India is trying to become self-reliant in terms of fertilizer. India में fertilizer import किया जाता है या we are self-sufficient in terms of fertilizer in India?
We import it, sir.
We imported. So वही लिखा हुआ है कि a move towards the Atmanirbharta with respect to the fertilizers. So focus on self-reliance in fertilizer has helped to tide over the difficult period as per Mansukh Mandavia. So please read this article that how India is trying to become self-sufficient in terms of its fertilizer need and fertilizer requirement. Fertilizer is also one such favorite area of UPSC. यहाँ पे हर साल यूपीएससी फर्टिलाइजर्स या प्रीलिम्स में या मेंस एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन पूछता है. यू नीड टू नो एवरीथिंग अबाउट द इश्यूज ऑफ फर्टिलाइजर इन इंडिया. क्लियर साहिल?
Yes, sir.
So the government has shown foresightedness in securing fertilizer supplies during the crisis precipitated by the Russian-Ukraine war. तो रशिया और यूक्रेन वॉर की वजह से जो सिचुएशन आ गई थी, जो क्राइसिस आ गई थी, उसकी वजह से गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने क्या किया था कि पहले से ही, फोरसाइटेडनेस का मतलब क्या होता है? दूरंदेशी, जिसको हम कहते हैं कि पहले से ही समझकर हमने फर्टिलाइजर को सिक्योर किया था. डिस्पाइट फेसिंग चैलेंजेस सच एज स्कार्सिटी ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल. इंडिया में उसके लिए रॉ मटेरियल बहुत कम है फर्टिलाइजर के लिए. गैस, ऑयल, रॉक फॉस्फेट अभी इंपोर्ट करना होता है, एंड पोटैश. The government has forged long-term agreements and created joint ventures with resource-rich nations. तो जिस नेशन में ये रिसोर्सेस हैं उनके साथ में हमने एग्रीमेंट साइन किया और एक रिसोर्स ज्वाइंट वेंचर साइन किया. तो व्हाट वी इंपोर्ट like gas, oil, rock phosphate and potash. All these things are needed for for the fertilizer manufacturing. तो आज जाकर आपको देखना है कि पूरी दुनिया में सबसे ज्यादा रॉक फॉस्फेट कहाँ मिलता है. इन दिस ईयर्स फिल्म्स एग्जाम एक क्वेश्चन पूछा गया था कि which among the following is having the largest reserve of this. Anyone remember? किससे रिलेटेड था वो? इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल बनाने के लिए एक मटेरियल लगता है और वो पूरे दुनिया में सबसे ज्यादा कौन से देश में पाया जाता है, ये क्वेश्चन पूछा था, याद है? Which was that
Yes, sir,
material?
Yes, sir, lithium.
Not lithium. प्रीलिम्स एग्जाम में क्या पूछा था?
sir. Largest result
Cobalt.
reservoir of cobalt, sir.
राइट, कोबाल्ट. क्वेश्चन ये पूछा था कि कोबाल्ट which is one of the important raw material for the electric vehicles. So which among the following country has the largest reserves of the cobalt in the world? तो वैसे भी यहाँ पर rock phosphate which is the rock material which is needed for the fertilizer industry. तो पूरी दुनिया में सबसे ज्यादा rock phosphate कहाँ मिलता है, पोटैश कहाँ मिलता है, ये पूछा है. While discussing the environmental class, तो उस समय मैंने phosphorus cycle के बारे में सुना था, याद है? नाइट्रोजन साइकिल, फास्फोरस साइकिल, सल्फर साइकिल, राइट. तो उसमें से एक है फास्फोरस साइकिल. रॉक फॉस्फेट is again one of the very important the material which is required for the agriculture for the growth of the crop. तो ये रॉक फॉस्फेट सबसे ज्यादा पाया जाता है पेरुवियन कोस्ट पे या साउथ अफ्रीका की साउथ अमेरिका के कोस्ट पे. पेरू, चाइल वगैरह जो कंट्री हैं वहां पर ये बहुत ज्यादा पाए जाते हैं. So you need to know that where the rock phosphate is located and where the potash is located, because these are the two raw material which is needed for the fertilizer in India, which is not abundantly available in India. तो इंडिया में ये बहुत ज्यादा अवेलेबल नहीं. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Fine. So let's move to the next page. Old ties, a full term. India Nepal bilateral relationship से है. Nepal's prime minister visit showed the political and psychological barriers that have long hampered cooperation between Delhi and Kathmandu have been diminished. तो India Nepal bilateral relationship को एक article है कि what type of relations we do have with the Nepal. That's what you can come to know by reading this article. The shoe doesn't fit. The uniform items for cops are mostly gender blind. That hurts. That's what Aparajita Rai said. So I think this is related to the uniform. The writer is a SP in Kalimnog, West Bengal. So why she feels so? That uniform items for the cops, that is police, are mostly gender biased. That hurts. Why she feels so? Now let's move to the next page. Attack on London mission.
Sir,
NIA team with Amritpal aids in Dibrugarh. Yes.
सर वो सोशल ट्रेड का कल जो हमने डिस्कस किया था उससे रिलेटेड आर्टिकल है सर वो.
कौन सा? Social trades. Which one? This Aparajita
The
Rai.
show doesn't fit. Yes, sir.
Right. Viprajita to be the first June cyclone to cross Gujarat coast in 25 years. ये पहला ऐसा साइक्लोन है कि जो गुजरात के कोस्ट को क्रॉस करेगा in the last 25 years. That's what is mentioned. So why Arabian Seas is safer relatively? Arabian Sea safer है compared to the Bay of Bengal. So just read this whole article to understand disaster and disaster management in India and cyclones, how the cyclones behaves. As per CAG, the institution must prepare themselves for auditing artificial intelligence based governance system. AI based governance system को अडॉप्ट करने की जरूरत है. That's what CAG has said to the various institutions in India. So currently Girish Chandra Murmu is the CAG of India now, Comptroller and Auditor General. Is it a constitutional post or statutory post? CAG is a constitutional post or statutory post?
Statutory.
No, it is a constitutional post, Sahib. Comptroller and Auditor General is a constitutional post. It is there in the constitution. MSP demand Haryana farmers block highway again. So as I told you yesterday only that MSP को लेकर कुछ issue है. Farmers of Punjab and Haryana, they are demanding more MSP. So just read this article. Now let's move on to the today's economy page. Explain page is about the COVID data leak again. What is this issue? Why the government response raises the question? The middle class are as many as the number of the people engaged in this quest. Perhaps this is because of lack of clarity on what characteristics the middle class must have to qualify for the label. मतलब किन्हें हम मिडिल क्लास कह सकते हैं उसको लेकर एक इश्यू है इंडिया में. मिडिल क्लास है या नहीं है तो कितना है क्या है, दैट इज व्हाट इज डिस्कस्ड हियर. Now let's move on to the today's economy page. CAG ने कहा है looks for ways to adopt AI into audit techniques for effectiveness. तो ऑडिट करने के लिए AI सिस्टम को इंट्रोड्यूस करने की जरूरत है. That's what CAG has said. India is to share its digital success story. India अपनी जो सक्सेस स्टोरीज है डिजिटल सक्सेस स्टोरी इट विल बी शेयरिंग विद अदर कंट्रीज एज अ वन फ्यूचर अलायंस. ये वन फ्यूचर अलायंस क्या होता है, क्या है ये आज चेक करना है. यू कैन चेक इट आउट इन गूगल. व्हाट इज दिस वन फ्यूचर अलायंस? As per finance minister, GDP has grown by 87% in last 9 years. As per finance minister, हमारी GDP जो है वो 87% से बढ़ गई. Nirmala Sitharaman is known for giving such type of statements. India and UAE's discussions on currency trade progressive fast. तो इंडिया यूएई दोनों करेंसी पे ट्रेड करेंगे, मतलब इंडिया के रुपए बेस्ड ट्रेड they are trying to have with UAE. Yesterday only there was one news, there was one data that UAE has become India's fourth largest FDI investor in India. तो इंडिया यूएई के बीच में जो ट्रेड है वो रुपी बेस्ड ट्रेड होगा और उसके लिए प्रोसेस फास्ट किया जा रहा है. दैट्स व्हाट इंडियाज ट्रेड मिनिस्टर पीयूष गोयल has said. Oil prices fall ahead of the US federal rate decisions on investors' concern. So oil के जो prices है, crude oil prices, that has been fallen in the last few days. So this is all there in the today's newspaper. We'll stop it here now. We'll continue in the evening with the question paper discussion today. Any doubts for the today's session? Omkar, Mustafa, Saad, Sahil?
No, sir.
Chal. So good day to all of you. See you in the evening.